UFC middleweight contender Sean Strickland feels his latest main event win warrants the next shot at Israel Adesanya. Strickland put on one of the most dominant performances of his UFC career by finishing Abus Magomedov in the second round at UFC Fight Night. Strickland v. Magomedov. After a frantic pace from Magomedov in the early round, along with a brief stoppage for an accidental eye poke, Strickland poured it on Magomedov in round 2 for the TKO win. Strickland has won two back fights after a knockout loss to Alex Pereira at UFC 276 last year. Adesanya, who reclaimed the title by finishing Pereira at UFC 287, is expected to return in September for the upcoming pay-per-view card in Australia. Strickland has had Adesanya in his crosshairs for years and feels his latest win is enough to earn himself the shot at Adesanya's gold. Sean Strickland prepared to make September title trip to Australia. During his post-fight press conference, Strickland made his case to skip the line for a shot at Adesanya. "It needs to happen," Strickland said. "We know Izzy is on fucking repeat. They tried to bring Abus. This is what the UF said. The middleweight division's stagnant. Let's get Abus in here. He might beat Sean. Every time they try to bring new blood, the Frenchie I fought before, I sent him home. This guy, I sent him back. Every time they try to send new blood, I sent it back. Give me the fucking title. I've earned it. I've fucking paid my dues. Give me that, Former UFC middleweight champion Robert Whittaker will face Dricus du Plessis at UFC 290 on Saturday. The winner could potentially earn the next title shot over Strickland and others. Strickland and Adesanya could be on a collision course soon, and Strickland will be ready to fight in September if the UFC decides to go in a different direction when it comes to the next middleweight title fight. Sean Strickland overcame some early adversity before scoring his first finish since 2020 in his main event bout with Abus Magomedov. The middleweight matchup was a surprise choice of main event in the eyes of many fans, with Strickland entering the night as the UFC's ranked middleweight against an unranked Magomedov that only made his debut in the promotion last September. Things didn't start off well when a bad eye poke looked as if it might keep Strickland from continuing, but after several minutes, the 32-year-old indicated he could carry on. The first round didn't get much easier for Strickland, who showcased his typically sharp jab but struggled with Magomedov's leg kicks and more varied punches. After receiving some advice from fellow UFC middleweight Chris Curtis in between rounds, Tarzan came out more aggressive in the second round and steadily began to pull away in the significant strike totals. Magomedov appeared to fade considerably as the second round went on, and eventually Strickland decided to forgo his usual measured approach in favor of battering his opponent until the referee finally intervened with less than a minute remaining in the round. Strickland is now 2-0 this year after suffering two back losses for the first time in his career against Jared Cannonier and Alex Pereira, and even though the win came against unranked opposition, the 32-year-old will likely be thrilled to have finished his first opponent since his fight with Brendan Allen. MMA Twitter reacts to Sean Strickland's win over Abus Magomedov. Strickland is one of the more polarizing figures in MMA, but many spectators appeared to be impressed by the performance in his third straight UFC main event.